right. And we are live. Welcome to Moms for Trans Kids podcast. I am your co-host, Ellen, one of the MamaBeasts. I am here with the founder and creator of Moms for Trans Kids. That's number 4, Dr. Lulu. And our special guest today is Latoya Smith. And we are so excited to have her on our show this morning, or this afternoon, should I say. My goodness, I can't believe it's afternoon already. Now, we have a little bit of some technological glitches going on. So Dr. Lulu will be typing in the chat. But please, by all means, subscribe to Moms for Trans Kids podcast on YouTube, like, share. We are also you're also able to see us on LinkedIn and Instagram and a lot of social media outlets. So please make sure that you send in your questions, or we just are excited that you are joining us today. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Latoya, it's so good to have you here today. Dr. Lou's good. She's a woman of many faces. So I just want to welcome you to the show. And I read a little bit about what Dr. Lulu sent me over and some information that I really found to be really supportive of just youth and just wanted to kind of jump right on in and just hear all about what it is that you do, but first and foremost, why you decided to say yes to Moms for Trans Kids podcast.
Well, I am a mom of 4 boys, all very different, and 2 of them, are on that journey. One is interested in trans, and the other is still, trying to figure it out. And we're trying to be very supportive. But even before I learned about Dr. Lulu, we've been advocates and working towards leveling the playing field for members of the community, especially youth.
Yes, that's so important. And thank you for sharing that, because oftentimes we don't see enough, or we don't have these opportunities to openly discuss as Black moms about our Black trans children or non-binary children. So it is really great to hear that, a fellow parent who has children that are starting to identify and become aware and self-loving. I think that when our kids move into this space of self-acceptance, that also runs very parallel with self-love.
Yes.
And it also runs very parallel with how you are supportive as a parent and making sure that your child feels safe in coming out and and being okay with allowing for you to come in, if you will. So I'm so glad that you shared that with us. Now, in your journey, please share with us, if you don't mind. In your journey, what was that like for you? Your children, both of them that um, are starting to embrace themselves as either trans or non-binary. What was that like for you as a mom, when either they first told you, or was it something that you kind of always knew, or what was that feeling for you?
I would say I wasn't shocked. And I think my reaction of, they didn't get the shock factor, which kind of took them off guard a little,
Mhm.
because they were just like, I think they were expecting confrontation and expecting rejection. And it was almost like they didn't know what to do with me, because I wasn't ranting and raging about the Bible and man and woman and all of these other things. But
Yeah.
it's still a struggle,
Yeah.
because the younger is still trying to figure things out. I swear, if it's on social media, he's trying it, or he wants to identify with it. And
Mhm.
then the older one, he just wants to do his own thing. And I'm like, do it, but you just got to be
Yeah.
careful where we live. We live in a
Yeah.
very conservative environment. And
Yes.
take that to Cincinnati and to Columbus and to Cleveland, but you can't do that here in Amish country.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate with you so well. I, as a young queer woman, a queer woman,
Mhm.
I did not come out until when I moved out to California, and that was in my mid 20s. And growing up in Ohio, it is, much more of a conservative
Yeah.
space then, in Sign of the Times, than it is now. And I say now only because, you know, queer people, trans people, we're everywhere. We're on the map, right? And so it comes to this place of where you have to recognize and understand that we do exist, even in your conservative spaces, whether you like it or not. We exist.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
so just to kind of know, I think that our children brace themselves and prepare themselves for what they feel as though we're going to say, because society
Yes.
kind of moves people a little bit differently. And so, it's kind of like, if I prepare myself, then if it doesn't go my way, then I don't have to be so hurt, or I don't have to
Right.
be so feel so diminished, or feel so crushed. And so I think that that was kind of maybe similar to when my son came out as trans male during the pandemic.
Mhm.
And when he told me, I just was like, okay. So, and now prior to that, yeah, he lived in a lesbian, androgynous, gay woman space, right?
Mhm.
So, I must say that I didn't see it coming.
Okay.
Um, I had no idea, because I thought he was comfortable in the space that he was in, because he lived very outwardly and open, and accepting of himself as to who he was. So when he came out, I was probably more shocked that he didn't tell me earlier. I was just like,
Right. Yeah.
I'm the gay mom. How do you not
How can you not
how
come
you
to
not tell
me?
me? So um yeah, so I could definitely totally relate, and it is kind of something where they're just like, wait a second, I don't know if I was ready for that, or like,
Mhm.
is this a trick?
Right.
But yes, but if you are watching us live, please, on Instagram, ask any questions. Um, and we will most certainly take some time to acknowledge you. And Dr. Lulu is typing, and we'll acknowledge you, whether it's in the chat or acknowledge you verbally. But we just really appreciate you being here today. Latoya, can you share about your spouse,
Mhm.
and the reaction that your spouse had? As
It's
moms, we're
this the
a little
same.
different.
There, no, it's the same. We have always embraced, when we started, before we started our nonprofit, always embraced other. A lot of times, even when I was growing up, the kids that were a little different came to my house. My
Mhm.
husband, he is very open. My husband and I met on eHarmony, so that should tell you something about us.
Oh
We're
yeah,
already
yeah.
different. And
Yes.
we have friends who are gay, who are trans, who are lesbian,
Mhm.
people who are in interracial marriage, multiple religious households.
Mhm.
So I think there's very little that our boys could do to shock us about anything. We're both prior military. So we're game for a lot of different things, and we don't judge.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna be honest, it's almost like the kids wanted us to have a problem so that they had a reason to be upset.
Right.
And it was almost a disappointment that we didn't get all up in arms. And they're just like, "Oh, you're cool with that? Well, let me find something
Mhm.
else to be angry with you about because I'm a teenager and you're my parent." But
Right.
in the end, they could never say that we rejected or told them who they couldn't be or who they couldn't be
Yeah.
friends with. And I'm going to be honest, we're probably not in the norm for our, minority community families
Mhm.
who will often, reject those kids. Those that come through our program, a lot of them have been rejected by their community, by their
Yeah.
families. And
Yeah.
they meet us like, you guys are weird because you don't reject anyone. You try to embrace
Mhm.
everyone. I'm like, yeah, we're a good kind of weird, and we want you to be weird with us.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's interesting that you speak on that, because um, I think that our kids, I think it's kind of like a natural gravitation that there's
Yes.
something that they have to not like about us and something that
Yes.
we have to not like about them.
Yes.
So when they learn that we're all on the same page, it does take them aback a little bit, like, wait a second, we're like agreeing on this topic.
Mhm.
So I
I spend all that
totally get
time
it.
in that argument.
Right. I totally get that. And so you had also mentioned um how you are with um how you connect with other people and the standards and the expectations that you place or put in place that are supportive of your children.
Mhm.
What is that like? If you don't mind talking about what has that been like with extended family or family outside of your immediate circle? What has that been like for you and your husband and your children?
I think within our household is one thing, outside, the family, extended family is different. We do have relatives who are members of the alternative community, and it's like they'll say one thing around you, and when the child isn't around, or sometimes they forget that you're in the same
Mm,
situation, and they'll make comments, and I'm just like, "Okay, so what's the problem with that?" And they're just like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot." "Oh, you forgot I'm one of them, one of those parents."
mhm. Yeah.
Um, Very hypocritical. I'm gonna be honest. I love my family, but we have family members that, go to church 2 or 3 times a week and behave very differently from the messages that they're learning. Um,
Mhm,
then there's a matter of not saying it out loud, but sending
mhm,
messages of disapproval when a family member starts talking about their partner or who they're going out on a date with. And I'm just like, "Ooh, tell me more." And it's
mhm.
I'm telling them just in general how to go about dating safely and,
Yeah.
finding quality relationships. And I don't care if you're doing it with a man, woman, or a man and a woman. Those are the things that I
Mhm.
care about because I want you to be healthy and I want you to be safe.
Yeah.
And for many members of the extended family, it's like they can't get past that. Maybe it's because they're part of an older generation, but
Mhm.
people look at me, I'm older than I look, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pushing 50, but it doesn't mean I'm too old to change. And went to high school and college with those who were different, and I love them just the same.
Yeah.
So if you're not really honest about your willingness to embrace, understand diversity and inclusion at its core, it's going to show up in your relationships and your conversations. And
Mhm. Yep.
unfortunately, it does happen in our families where, at home, you can be one way, but I'm sorry, when we go to a big family event, you're probably going to hear some things you don't want to hear or not receive the welcome that you're anticipating.
Yeah. And, it's unfortunate that we have to have those conversations, but they're necessary in that we want to prepare our kids for a kind of like a bigger societal issue, if you will. Um, when my son
Mhm.
came out, I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of chosen family. So and my relatives, blood family, if you will. Um, they're very much welcoming and accepting, but they excuse me, but they're very clear on my
Mhm.
expectations. And they're very
Right.
clear on knowing that if you are not coming into the space that we're in, or if we're coming into, just kind of getting together and gathering for whatever events or what have you, it should be a loving space. The bottom line is that you loved my child all the way up until to this point. And so then I question whether you really loved my child in the first place.
Yes.
Because there is not a switch that goes off. My child it's the same respectful person. My child is
Mhm.
the same loving person. My child is the same person that is going to have good character and show you respect and all of these things that I have instilled in him and raised him to be. So that doesn't change, or you don't have the right to now disregard him as an individual because he
Right.
is now identifying with himself and how he moves throughout the world in his own level of happiness. So I think that's great that you prepare them
I mean,
for those conversations.
and a big part of it is I, put them on notice. I love you, me and dad accept you, but just know when you step out that door, everyone's not going to have the same level of acceptance as we do. And you have to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for that and just realize what it takes to have quality relationships. And those individuals that you can't establish that with, you need to move on and don't try to force
Mhm.
people to be the types of friends and families and loved
Mhm.
ones that you want. Because if you have to work that hard, it is not worth it. My husband
Right.
and I, we both have been married before, and I was to the point where I was taking medication to be in my first marriage. And I'm like, if I have to take drugs
Wow.
to be happy, this isn't going to work. If you have
Yeah.
to change who you are, your brain chemistry, in order for
Mhm.
you to be happy and comfortable in a safe relationship, it is time to move on. And
Mhm.
that's the first thing. I want you to have a relationship like me and dad, regardless of who you're in love with. And if you can't have that, you need to move on. Don't settle. And I don't care if it's friendship, work relationships, or family relationships.
Mhm.
It's not.
Right.
It's not your mental state and your health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It looks like we are going to go on break.
Okay.
Um, and when we return, we are really excited to jump into your nonprofit
Okay.
and what that is like and what you do and how you help youth. So, yeah, so let's go on a quick break and we'll come back and we'll hear all about everything you got going on that end.
Great. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Are we on break? Okay.
Okay.
I've never
I
We've
can't
never done
tell.
like a break. So I'm like, we're going on break? That's the
Is
first.
is the audio working now?
I don't know what that is the first time this has ever happened.
Well, I
Yeah.
can I can see the private chat and I can see the bubble chat on the bottom, so I can see everything coming
Okay.
through.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I just don't know why that's happening, Dr. Lulu.
Did they update StreamYard recently? That happens. So we work with a lot of blind participants.
Mhm.
Every time Zoom does an update, it screws up their access. Because they're using a screen reader, and almost every update, it screws up their settings. You don't see it, but you experience it after the fact.
Mhm. Yeah, I just don't.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I this is like a first. So, and I know Dr. Lulu is just I know she's like, I can't talk.
We're
And
working
even
what we
though
got.
and even though as much as I can carry a conversation, I'm not used to talking this much.
Oh.
We're used to sharing on the podcast. We're used to
I was
sharing
feeling
the
like
load.
I don't I don't know if I'm supposed to jump in or what.
Yeah, we're used to sharing the load. So I'm just like, well, listen, jump right on in. So, and
Okay.
just be free to speak to whatever. So,
All
all
right.
right, Dr. Lulu, you want to give us a thumbs up when we come back? Or we're back? All right.
Good.
Well, welcome back. So good to have you once again. Welcome to Moms for Trans Kids. That's the number 4. I am here with the founder, CEO of Moms for Trans Kids, the creator, Dr. Lulu, and also here with Latoya Smith, who has just shared some really great information and all of the stuff that she has been talking about in regards to how she supports her children. Um, and want to jump right on in and hear about your nonprofit. Latoya, I
Okay.
would love to for you to share that with our viewers, and so give us some insight on that.
Okay. So we started the On Bio Feeds project back in 2019. And this was just before the COVID shutdowns.
Mhm.
Um, always had a desire to help individuals who were parts of marginalized communities, whether it's LGBTQ plus, disabled, and we started giving opportunities for paid internships during the shutdowns because so many individuals from those communities were losing their gig jobs. And
Mhm.
one of the easiest ways for an employer to get rid of an undesirable candidate is to say you don't
Mhm.
experience and we can't verify your experience. So we started giving that. And then after a
Good.
while, spent so much time and energy on those passion projects that I wanted to make it permanent. So that's
Oh,
how
good.
the nonprofit came about. My husband has been writing since 2016. And so we started taking this young adult epic fantasy and turning it into passion projects that these individuals could work on, whether it was writing, video,
Mm.
animation, artwork, you name it. How can you take the type of work you're passionate about and turn that into a project that you could show potential employers or clients?
Yeah.
Um, but we really wanted to start living the mission. I am a former veteran, U.S. Coast Guard, disabled vet. I have worked in government contracting. I have worked corporate. I've worked in healthcare. I've worked in petroleum. Every
Wow.
single environment, it's the same nonsense, different environment. And
Mhm.
most people who are different, disabled, elderly, were the ones that are first to get the boot. So I wanted to
Mm.
start offering in opportunities to those who are constantly overlooked or denied an opportunity to work in the positions they're most passionate about. When it came to members of the LGBTQ plus community and those with disabilities, I mean, even last year, the Trevor Project reported that 35% of the LGBTQ youth, they experience the challenges of finding employment. The employment they want
Mhm.
employment that
Yeah.
others give them.
Yeah.
And when it comes to those who are members of the LGBTQ community and disabled, it's even worse. We're looking at
Mhm.
65% employment challenges for that group.
Wow.
So we wanted to start giving those employment opportunities that highlight this is what your experience should be like. This is the
Mhm.
type of treatment you should demand. This is what you should be expecting. And you're going to learn hands on. We're not going to talk about pipe dreams with, oh, this is what we want our organization to be like. No, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to
Mhm.
do every day. This is how we're going to live. This is how we're going to work together. And we want
Mhm.
you to go out to your next employer and look for this sort of culture, look for these sorts of opportunities. So it's a marriage of social causes and workforce development. And
Wow.
at the end of the day, I love what I do. You know,
Yeah.
I just want to, not because I have to. And unfortunately, it's really challenging, but most people back away from that challenge because there's so much involved. So
Yeah.
today, I mean, we've had nearly 100 candidates or participants in our program.
Oh, wow.
We, we've had success stories. We've had beta applications and games go out. All of these
Wow.
projects are made by those who most employers wouldn't give a second look.
Now, my question, excuse me, my question for you is, when you are creating this space, um, do you also support or help with job placement or referrals to other, corporations that you've aligned yourself with, to kind of
Yes.
help to kind of help support um, the demographics that you're targeting into other companies?
So there are two ways. We have those strategic partners who are usually small businesses, medium sized, but usually small, who I've
Hmm.
already partnered with. And we work on passion projects that fit in with their main line of business. So
Okay.
if they have an opening, I'm referring candidates that have completed our program. Even if they have just projects that need accessibility testing. Well, you know what? We have blind and deaf interns. Let them do the testing for you and let them get paid for it.
Right.
But on the other side, for opportunities that we don't have strategic partnerships for, spend a lot of time. Our program is 12 weeks long. By the time they're getting to the last phase, the last 4 to 6 weeks of the program, I start showing them how to research an organization's culture, not what they
Mm-hmm.
said on the website, not what they're touting about on social media. How do you know what it's really like? Look at the employee reviews. Speak to those that either are or recently worked for that organization and ask
Mm-hmm.
them questions. How do they treat people, members of this community? What have you
Right.
seen? What do you like? What do you not like?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are applying and you just hit an apply, apply, apply with all of those easily apply buttons, that's great. I know it's a numbers game, but you don't want to spend your time and energy trying to get a place with a job that isn't going to accept you for who you are, because you're only going to
Right.
last, on average, 6 to 9 months before you decide you've had
Wow.
it and start looking for another job. Most people
Wow.
are into an organization where the culture is not a good fit. They barely
Mm-hmm.
make it a year before they
Yeah.
start looking for another job. And if they do
Mm-hmm.
stay, they're miserable.
Yeah. And I know, unfortunately, that's, we see that companies, um, indirectly, if you will, um,
Mhm.
kind of go out of their way to not give them or not support them as their employee, or they don't create these safe spaces for them where they
Mhm.
feel that they can stay in these positions, where they're really good. They're coming in and they have the qualifications just like anyone else. um Now,
Oh,
with
go
that,
ahead.
the name, excuse me, I feel like the name is really unique. How did you come up with the name? What does the name mean? I feel like that's
Um,
it's very original, so tell us about that.
Yes. So the story that my husband wrote. So it's okay. We are huge Harry Potter, Marvel, and Star Wars fans. He
Okay.
started writing fan fiction,
Mm,
and think Harry Potter, but 13 kids that are kind of growing up in similar situations. They are from different countries, different cultures, and different backgrounds. And so we didn't
mm,
want to choose a title that spoke to one particular culture or group or country. Anvaya is actually a Sanskrit word. So, yes, it does go back to the Hindu language, but it's an ancient language. So, we chose
mm,
Anvaya because the term means family, and of course
mm,
feast. So these 13 kids from different parts of the world have to come together in order to overcome their demons, but also the bad guy, the shadow.
mhm, mhm,
So Ambaya was a word that was more encompassing than just choosing English or French or Spanish. And so that's how we came up with the term Anbaya. But in general, in every project we work on, in every relationship we go into, you have to learn to collaborate. You have to learn to
mhm.
diverse characters. You have to learn to overcome your differences in order to succeed. And that's, Lord knows, that's what we need in this world right now.
Right.
So we wanted the name of the series to reflect that, and it just seemed natural to have the nonprofit follow suit, because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, everything we do is all about diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And if it's not in there, then it's not a project we're working on.
No, and I love the name, and thank you for pronouncing the name correctly. Because when I was looking at it, I was just like, I hope I'm saying this right. but but I love the meaning also. I love the meaning, and I love that you have integrated that standard into your work and what you all are doing, um for so many people, and to normalize, what it means to collectively move in a space, workspace outside of,
Mhm.
your comfort zone, your home space, to normalize that. That's really important.
Yes,
Um,
we. Oh, go ahead.
when you A quick question, when you uh, how do you obtain your clients, if you will? So how do they find you, or how do you connect to them?
Um,
And how what does that look like?
Very often, we're working with vocational rehab counselors, high school counselors, guidance counselors. And if I'm being honest, I think they send us the candidates that they find most challenging,
Mm,
because it's not your run of the mill, check the box approach to helping a person. You
mhm,
might be working with, like, we have an artist who is a member of the trans community, who is also hearing impaired, who is also vision impaired, and hasn't come out to their family yet. And guess
Oh,
what?
wow.
They've been with us 3 years. Um,
Wow.
we have college counselors who have students that just are struggling to find their way. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just about the academic or the technical skills, it's some
Mm-hmm.
social issues that they have to work through. So we're usually getting candidates that way. We do put out feelers every quarter, like where you just put one out this week for our IT DevOps internship. And we put it on
Mm-hmm.
social media, but very often we're getting referrals from vocational counselors and employment specialists who are finding it difficult to place candidates in jobs that they actually want to do.
Oh, wow. That is wonderful.
Mhm.
Is your focus solely in your area? Or is it something where you are looking to expand, across the country? Because this is something that is needed everywhere, right?
Country. We've had interns in different countries.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
we've had interns from Sri Lanka and Japan and India and Africa and South America. Um,
Wonderful.
we we don't discriminate. And what we do is we actually only take private funding. We don't do government. We don't do federal because unfortunately, when you accept those funds, then they tell you who you can and can't help.
Yep. Comes with
So
stipulations. Yep.
yes. So we're small, but if it means we can help whoever needs help, then that's what we'll keep doing. I don't want it to grow to the point where I can't be a mentor and I'm
Mm-hmm.
spending so much time with paperwork
Mm-hmm.
because I'm the program manager for the internship myself. So
Okay.
I have 1 to 2 hours every week with every intern that comes through our
Oh,
programs. I
wonderful.
work with them
Wonderful.
individually. And I want to keep it that way. I would love
Yeah.
for the interns to get the exposure to growing our presence, but I'm not looking for a 100 member team or anything like that. I love
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we're nimble, we're agile, we can turn on a dime, and we can work on multiple projects without all of the frustration that comes with lots of project management.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's just been rewarding. Our characters are based on people we've known, even
Mm-hmm.
some characteristics of our own personalities. And our interns see that, they see themselves, and we
Mm-hmm.
want them to continue to grow. And we want to introduce new characters, as the story goes. But we are looking to expand to have a higher success rate or a higher through rate for interns and get them into the jobs that, bring fulfillment, not just a paycheck.
Yes. Yes. And I love how you said that you you're taking donations from private entities. That's so important because we know that the government is going to be very particular about
Yes.
how they extend services and support um, to um, to individuals that have a disability or individuals that
Mhm.
are a non-binary or are identifying as trans or to individuals that are in marginalized communities.
Yes.
We know what that looks like. We have that experience,
Yes.
and it's definitely some unfair situations that it pushes companies to um, be a part of because of how the funding rolls out.
Mhm.
So I think that is really great that you have an opportunity to stay alive and to really be influential through, private funding so that you can keep this going because it's definitely needed. And I'm so great
Mhm.
to just to have you on the show because I'm hearing all these things. Every time we have a show, I learn there's so many takeaways
Mhm.
that I learned. And so I'm so glad that I'm able to hear really the foundation of your organization. So you said you've been in
Yeah.
business since was it pre-COVID? I do believe you said.
Yes. Well, the company I had previously, 3S Tech and Talent, I started that. I had just left a contract at NASA and I
Mhm.
started my own tech company. And so
Oh
that was
wow.
2017. But by 2019, I was like, it's not about the money anymore. It's not about the
Mhm.
projects. I want to enjoy my work, and I want to work with a group of people who believe in their mission statement. It's not just a poster on the wall. They're living it. They're trying to live up to
Mhm.
it. And
Mhm.
after 20 plus years of working in various industries and people saying one thing and doing another, I said, you know what? I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I want to help the people and work with the sorts of challenges that most of these companies are
Mhm.
avoiding. And I've actually left jobs, high paying jobs, because they weren't living up to their own mission and
Yeah.
vision. And,
Yeah.
how do you sleep at night? I know I couldn't. So we
Yeah.
moved on. But we want to set an example when a company says we can't do that. I'm like, well, here's an example.
Mhm.
Everything from accessible comic books to Braille
Mhm.
children's books for social emotional learning. Those are the projects that come out of what we work on with our interns. And
Yeah.
when I see big corporates that say, oh, you can't do that, well, we just did it and we're operating on less than
Right.
$1,000 on budget. So tell me what
Right.
your expense is.
Right.
Um, we just want to continue to set an example. We're the little engine that could, and we are
Mhm.
embracing everyone and we're tackling some really big challenges. So don't tell me what we can't do and what
Yes.
these sorts of people can do.
Yes. Well, I just love the fact that you are a woman in STEM. That's or STEAM, should I say? I love that.
Yes.
You know, a black woman in STEAM is, I mean, my goodness, I know that those numbers, those percentages are definitely low, unfortunately, because we know the intellectual ability that black women have in science and technology, and in those spaces. So we know that though that they exist. I mean, they've existed hundreds and hundreds of years. You know,
Mhm.
even during through the Underground Railroad,
Yes.
and just organizing a path in a geological or geographical path, so we know all of these things exist. Um, so I'm really great. I'm like ecstatic about that because I never see enough Black women in those spaces. Now, what is your percentage of in what you do in your organization? What is your percentage of trans or non-binary clients that you've worked with, and how are you able to kind of filter them out into some of these positions?
I would say probably 60 to 65%
Oh,
are,
wow.
but
Wow.
many of them are also have disabilities that so you have, and that's why we talk about the intersectionality. They're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with multiple challenges in addition to
Mm-hmm.
trying to get a job that they want to do. So when it comes to, them getting assigned to a project, I don't care, what you look like, what your experience is. Tell me
Mm-hmm.
what it is you're passionate about. We're going to help to find a professional development path forward, and then we're going to give you some hands-on experience and work on these real life projects. But on the
Wow.
other side of that, I can't tell you how many job descriptions and offer letters and interview letters I've looked at on behalf of our interns and helping them to make a decision about which opportunities they want to go after. I harp on
Mm-hmm.
culture is like, what was the attitude during the interview, and things like that. But many of
Mm-hmm.
them are afraid to disclose during the application process and during the interview process.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't force anyone to do or say anything they don't want to, but I let them
Right.
know if you can't be yourself now, when is it going to be allowed?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
during the process they make you feel uncomfortable sharing who you really are, then maybe that's not the
Mm-hmm.
place for you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but ultimately the decision is up to them. But we are really big on finding the truth about the character of these organizations before they go there, because I get kind of mama bearish with my interns. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want anyone messing over them, and I don't want them to be bullied. We've had some get placed at really great companies, game development, website development, another working on a NASA contract. But there are those that they're jumping at the first opportunity without doing their homework, and so they end up coming back to me again to help them find an organization that's going to be accepting. But I'd probably say 1 in 4 or even 1 in 3 of our candidates are members of the LGBTQ community.
Wow, that's wonderful.
You'd be surprised how many come out to me before they come out to their families.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I want to go back to a comment that you said, if you can't be
Mhm.
yourself now, when will it be allowed? I think
Mhm.
that is just, my goodness, it is making sure that people respect who you are as a human being. I say that a million times over. Um, if people can get into this space of respecting people as human beings, we wouldn't have half of these problems that we're having.
Yep.
Um, and so for you to have those conversations and that dialogue with your clients, I think that says so much about you, and it says so much about your corporation, and that, or your organization, and that you are instilling in them and reinforcing that they should not take anything less of
Mhm.
acceptance and what that looks like. And it's really refreshing to see someone make sure that that is a conversation that's happening.
Yes.
Now, how do parents go about connecting to you? I know you mentioned counselors, college
Mhm.
advisors, so on and so forth. How do parents go about reaching out to you?
I've worked with some parents. I go out and I do speaking engagements. I tell them, email me, message me on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn, connect with me. If you can find me on Facebook, good luck. But at the end of the day, we try to find every opportunity to say yes.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
we just started introducing reference interviews at the beginning of our application process because I want to talk to parents. I want to talk to the friends. I want to talk to those individuals that are going to support them beyond the program, but also to get a better feel for each candidate. We work with some kids. We've had interns as young as 14, and they do the internship
Wow.
over spring break or the summer. It's never too early. Parents especially will ask me not just about the internship, but about the military and the other options
Mhm.
that might be available to their children because they're not getting these kinds of conversations in high school,
Yeah.
getting it from the teachers and the guidance counselors. And I'm going to be completely honest, some of them are just checking the box
Yeah.
and they're digging into what makes your child tick. What is it that they're
Mhm.
really passionate about? Because that's where you need to start. Don't tell me about what you want to do when you grow up. Tell me about the impact you want to make when you are old.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
when you talk about the job, you're just talking about a paycheck or a title. I
Mhm.
want you to figure out what it is you want to be doing, what impact, what change you want to be making
Yes.
while you're working. And that's a whole
Absolutely.
different conversations that counselors and even some parents don't know how to have with their children.
Yes, that's a good point you made. And just going back to when you're saying some of your clients come out to you first before they come out to, their parents or their immediate family. My goodness, how many times have we have seen that or been witness to that? I tell people all the time, if everybody else around your child knows who they
Mhm.
are, but the mom and the dad, you need to really ask yourself why. Why does
Yes.
everybody else know before you? you know, um, and Dr. Lulu mentioned that studies show that many queer plus kids come out first to their aunties or their female
Yes.
teachers first, and as you are, Latoya, in this mentorship role, as you said, they've come out to you because there's this safe space that
Mhm.
they
Yes.
feel that they are in, and that's important. It's important for individuals to have that of affirmation of who they
Mhm.
are, and being able to align with what they're passionate about. um so I really commend you on that. Now, your internship, is it paid, not paid, a variation of both? What does your internships look like?
It's
Excuse me.
it's a very it's a variation of both. Dr. Lulu's cracking up right now.
Okay.
I'm laughing because I found the mute button.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
oh my goodness.
all this
Well, you can
time.
find it. conversation now.
Now she can be a part of the conversation. She found the mute button. I said, look for the
So
mute.
generally, I let the guests do all the talking anyway because I talk enough for myself and my family. But when I was cleaning up the thing, I accidentally pressed it. So I was like,
Oh,
what's this red light
wow.
that's on here? But that's okay. At least I know it's not my laptop, it's not the computer. My
Yes.
Yeah,
book is in
that's
here.
good.
So it's fine. But y'all have been doing very well. I've been joining as much
Okay.
as I can. I just saw that. I was like, what's that red light? And I was cleaning. Oh my God. But that's okay.
Oh my god! But
It
paid
happened the way it was
internships,
supposed to.
paid,
The
not
way it was
paid.
supposed to be.
You were saying.
Okay. So it's a combination of the two. So because we work with interns in different states and different countries, there are different programs that are available. Many who are already working with vocational counselor, we can get them into a 12-week program where they're paid for 120 hours from
Oh,
the state.
good.
And
Oh,
then in other states, unfortunately, we have some really bad players at the state level, and they'll find every other reason to say no.
yeah.
We take money out of our own budget and we give them a little lump sum at the
Mm,
end of their internship. But
that's
some of those
wonderful.
internships turn into part-time opportunities where they
Mm.
stay on with us and they get paid every month to continue their contributions. It's artwork,
Oh, good.
music, blogging. And so we want to create more long-term opportunities, but
Mm-hmm.
I introduced the structure of a paid mutually beneficial internship with my last employer being the operative word.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you will not believe the opposition I received to actually paying
Mm-hmm.
interns. It was a glorified, you know, gopher program where they would ask employees to get their high school children and their college children to come in the summer, and they would do all the grunt work that no one else wanted to do. Well, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
If the high school and college students weren't there, you'd have to pay them for it.
Right.
To be mutually beneficial. So we don't have the budget to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
However, we're going to pay you at the end of the program. And if you've done a great job, we're going to find a way to keep paying you. So all of our internships are paid, and those who stay on to do monthly work for the organization, they're paid as well.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. I think that's absolutely wonderful. Dr. Lulu, now that you're back, you
No,
have
I
any
just wanted to
questions?
ask the same question I've asked. I've mentioned multiple times. I do need to get with your husband. Not ask. I just mentioned that your husband with the grant writing because my nonprofit is a brand new baby, and I want to learn
Mhm.
about grant writing. So that's about it. I do want to just appreciate Ellen. Thank you for going solo. I've been podcasting for 7 or 8 years. So my first
Mm-hmm.
podcast was Suicide Pages. It was a solo project. It was just me and the guest. So I know how to spin anything you tell me. I can spin it into a question. And so I really appreciate because you didn't know that. And also it's just something that, as a physician, I interview people for a living. Just
Mm-hmm.
how are you doing, how are you feeling? And so I'm
Yeah.
used to these questions, but I want to just give you flowers for rolling with that. Is so for me, way to pivot, Ellen. I've always, I'm very good at gratitude, and I've always told you how much I think you are like my sister that I didn't have. But I
Mm-hmm.
really want to say to you today that this is the stuff chosen family is made of. If I
Yes.
didn't know the show, I wouldn't know that you were not the host. You did a good job. And yes, you don't know this, but I always say so. The show is called Moms for Trans Kids. That's a break. So whenever I say so, the show is called Months for Trans Kids. Make sure you go support us and then that's me putting a break. But because I'm used to doing that, so every 15 minutes I put a
Mm-hmm.
break, just for a quick break, without necessarily making it a big deal. But I was like, oh, I didn't tell you that because I didn't know you were going to roll solo. So usually I do a quick break to remind them that the show is called, but also it's a transition to change the topic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like a little art that I learned over the years. I said, okay, if I take a break now, I can take a breather. She can drink her water, and then we can jump into
Yeah.
something else. But this is so good. But you did a great job. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Well, listen, Latoya, I've been in education for 20 plus years, and part of that, as part of that, some of that, a large percentage of that I spent as a school principal. So talking is not a problem
Yeah.
for me. And I'm a Leo. So that's a whole other thing.
Okay.
So
So,
Latoya, thank you so much for taking the time out to come.
yes.
You are the first one we've done at this hour. Generally,
Okay.
we are on at 7 p.m., but the Calendly, my kid said there was an update. Actually, that's what my child said, and that probably reset it. So he wiped out everybody that we had
Oh.
scheduled in
Mm,
November, and then reset everybody to 3 p.m. But I know I
Oh.
didn't change it. That's what I was trying to tell Ellen. I said I didn't
Okay.
change it. It just changed. But I know everybody was 7. And then now it's all 3 p.m. for some reason. So I don't know how to undo
Oh.
that. So what we did was we went as far into the future as we could and we stopped it and then made it back to 7 p.m. I had to call them
Okay.
to have that tech people to do that with me a few weeks ago when this first happened. So the 3
Gotcha.
p.m. thing is just I just asked the guests, can you do 7? If they say yes, we'll go back to old time. If they say no, then I'll just have
yeah.
to roll with it. But 3 p.m. was not a choice. It was not a choice that we preferred. But I appreciate you
Yes.
with the
Oh,
pivot and
yes, not
everything.
a problem. I
I
was
loved it.
we have 4 boys and none of them drive, so we're normally on the road at 7 picking people up from work.
And now how old are your boys? Or how old are
Fif-
your children? Children.
Yep.
15.
Okay, Ellen. Ellen is learning. Ellen knows I
Children.
don't say boys or girls. I don't until the child tells me I don't. So yes, children is absolutely correct. How
Yes.
old are your offspring or children?
So 15, 18, 21, and 22.
Wow. So
Congrats,
you
you're almost there.
no, you're not,
Almost.
Latoya. You ain't almost no girl. No, you're
Well,
not.
wait.
You're almost there. I
Girl, you ain't
mean,
almost there, girl. We're gonna
because
be
the
doing this until we 90.
no, but the
Well,
15-year-old, the
figure.
15-year-old is almost 18 in the American context. When you're 18, you're suddenly grown. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
right. Of course not.
Well,
But yeah,
I'm
I mean,
at the point where they're of legal age where we can leave them alone for a couple of days.
Yes. Yes. That's the part. That's the reality. It's like
Yes.
when my son's name is Nico. When he turned 18 and he came out as trans at 18, I was
mhm.
just like, darn it. I was in the home
That's a
stretch.
new. I know
And now
that's a
I have
new
to
birth.
start over because it is a starting over of sorts,
Yes.
right? You are
Yeah.
Hmm.
starting in so many different facets of rebuilding,
Yes.
all of these things, right? And so he's 22, and I'm like you, Latoya. I'm like he has a car, girl. I'm at least I know he can drive to point A and point B.
I
Yeah.
was like,
So
with
Latoya, I have a
license.
Latoya, before you leave, can you tell the people where they can find you on social media,
Yes.
where they can follow you, how
Okay.
they can support your business? Because one of the things that we want to do here is also to hold space for entrepreneurs and as
Mhm.
much as possible help to magnify their work if they want to. So, how can the people find and follow you? And then, really quickly, I want to also throw in before I forget that I would like to invite you to just, if you want to, because I want to do a book next year, the first quarter of next year, with Black parents of trans kids, like an anthology. So if you
Mhm.
like to, purely if you want to, um, let me know so I can kind of put your name
Okay.
on the list. Yeah, and it's just going to be, we never talk about the kids' journey because our journey is authentic enough. So it's going to be your journey so that other parents, like a
Oh boy.
Mhm.
from us, else kind of thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
That'd be good.
we don't
I
get Black parents or trans kids on this show too often. Ellen will tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I'd love to participate. If anyone's looking for us, I would say, you can Google Anbaya Feats. We are on LinkedIn as Anbaya Feats, or you can go on LinkedIn and type in my name, Latoya V's and Victor Smith, on Instagram and TikTok, at Anbaya Feats, on YouTube. We're finally starting to get things done on YouTube. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of people don't spell it correctly. So I say if you type in my name, you're going to see lots of Anbaya feats attached there. As far as, reaching out, like I said, we're always looking for reasons to say yes and not to say
Mhm.
no. So
Mhm.
we've worked with parents and kids who have no experience in the industry whatsoever, but this is a
Mhm.
career exploration that they need. So we help them
Mhm.
with getting those basic entry level skills and exposure. And if they want to see samples, they'll find it on those with those handles, whether it
Mhm.
be on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. And just DM me if you just don't know where to start.
Mhm.
We help a lot of people with learning what their state agencies are so that they can get the funding and the resources that they need. You you probably cry if you knew how many parents I've encountered who have no idea of what resources are available to their kids that they don't have to pay for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm really willing and able to help as many as I can. And I definitely would like to follow up with you, Dr. Lulu, about the journey conversation because I know mine is a little different, being that I am have four boys and they're all very different and they're all on different journeys, and
Mhm.
you have to pivot like every other day.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there are parents that need to know what's out there and that there is a support group and there are others like you.
Yes.
You don't have to feel as alien or weird or foreign as your
Mhm.
teenagers or kids might
Yes.
make you feel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
just never, and it's also never been done before. And I love chatting. I
Mhm.
love being the one to cut the grass and open the field in an uncharted territory. So why not? It's time we had a book by us for us. Black parents do exist who affirm their kids. We're all out here, and I don't take it lightly at all. So I'll definitely put you on
Mhm.
the list. I'm looking for about 20 parents. So if you know any more parents,
Oh,
Ellen,
definitely.
also if you know any more parents, black parents, maybe brown, maybe, but black for sure, because nobody's telling our stories at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
honestly, I have a lot of empathy for brown as well, but I'm not brown. So it's just like I have to be
Right.
true to who I am first. And we
Mhm.
have enough need in the black community. And anything that
Yes.
works for black also works for brown. But for now, I want to do black first. So if you know any parents at all, I'll definitely reach out to you. The show is called Moms, the number four trans kids. My name is Dr. Lulu. And yes, we do come live every single Sunday, maybe 3 p.m., maybe 7 p.m. I don't know. But we will be in your face, me and my sister girlfriend, Ellen. Ellen, thank
Yes.
you so much for holding the fort today.
Yes.
Or like
It's
they
my
say in
pleasure.
Atlanta, on today. Mm. And Latoya, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your story and for sharing all of those details. Oh my goodness. I wanted to jump in so many times. Like, I want to say something. But yeah, it was really, really good. And it was also
Yeah.
good for me
So
to
much
stand from the
information.
corner and just kind of watch the show and just kind of watch it because I've never really done that. So I thought that
Yeah.
was fun also.
So much
But
information. I
yes,
really
a lot of
enjoyed
information.
listening and learning. And my goodness, I know that there's always a need for us to be in so many spaces, but you don't know that, people like you and your husband that have created this, um, the organization, you don't know these things exist. And
No.
and and I'm so grateful that Dr. Lulu is going to create this publication where not only does it share our journey, but it also can be used as a resource, to
Yes.
say, hey, this person does this. Here's the number. This is a quick synopsis. And let's dive into a little bit of what this person does, how they support their their child, how they support other children, and not just like you had mentioned, Atoya, um, not just queer, non-binary, trans, but the intersectionality of that.
Yeah.
And and I don't think people sometimes know how to do that. So
Yep.
thank
No.
you for that.
Yep. So it's 4 o'clock. Thank you all so much for joining us. Latoya, I want one parting word from you for the parents out there who they're looking for the services that you offer. What would you say to them?
Mm.
Don't give up. And at the end of the day, find out what makes your child tick.
Mm.
Let's help them to find out the future they're passionate about, not the future you're passionate about.
You're
And
passionate about. Yes. I love
Mhm.
quotes from my clients. I love quotes from my
yes,
guests. I love quotes, quotes, quotes. So beautiful. Not the future that you're passionate about, but the future that they are. And that's the same
yes,
thing I said in my third TED talk. Let the children lead. So the show is called
yes.
Moms for Trans Kids. Thank you all so much for joining us. Ellen, I love you, sis. I'll see you soon. And Latoya, stand by. I love all of y'all. Listen, everyone, be good, be good, be good, be good to yourself, be good to each other. And remember, parents, Yes, if your child is transgender, you can also be transphobic, and that may be the reason you're hesitant. I said that with my
Mhm.
full chest. Transphobia
Yes.
is real, and you don't know what it is until I tell you. But
Yeah.
truly, a lot of parents who are hesitating supporting their kids are transphobic.
Yeah.
You look that up. If you'd like to know more about that, it's in my upcoming book about your Black transgender child. All right, we'll see you all
Yes.
next week. Peace, love, and soul. I tell you 1 second. Bye.
Bye.
That was so good, Ellen. You were just a beast with that, Ellen. Thank you so much.
Oh
And
no,
Latoya, you
anytime.
did so
I'm
good.
talking
So
about
good.
me drinking water.